Accept change. I first learned of Mary Deming from one of her close friends who couldn't stop saying enough good things about her. And when I heard Mary's story, I began to understand why. But it wasn't until I spoke with her that it truly hit me. When Mary was 18, her mother was diagnosed with breast cancer. 3 short years later, her mother passed away. Following her mother's death, Mary admits she buried her head in the sand. She says she vacillated between feeling sorry for herself. Her father had passed away when she was a teen, so she felt it was unfair she was an orphan at 21. And busying herself with as much activity as possible so she didn't have to face the reality of her situation. But in 2000, at the age of 50, the same age her father had been when he passed away, Mary began thinking about her own mortality. That same year, as a high school teacher, Mary was asked to chaperone a school-sponsored fundraiser for cancer research. Chaperoning that event provided Mary with an opportunity to meet with other people who had lost loved ones to cancer. And the fundraiser ignited her passion to make a difference. She began participating in fundraising events for cancer research. Initially, she joined the American Cancer Society's Relay for Life as her first fundraiser walk. Then, in 2008, she joined the 3-day 60-mile walk sponsored by Susan G. Komen that was specifically aimed at raising money for breast cancer. Mary had always been a competitive person, and when she saw how much money other people were able to raise, she kicked it into high gear and single-handedly raised $38,000, $1,000 for each year her mother had been gone. But instead of patting herself on the back for a job well done, Mary credits the people in her small town with helping her raise the funds. And her fundraising endeavors made her recognize that raising money for cancer research was near and dear to her neighbors' hearts. She began to do some research, and she discovered that her home state of Connecticut had the second highest rate of breast cancer in the nation. And that sparked an idea. Mary decided to start her own nonprofit agency to raise money, and she got the entire community involved. She named her organization Seymour Pink, after her town of Seymour, Connecticut. Each October, Breast Cancer Awareness Month, the town makes sure everyone has an opportunity to see more pink. Businesses decorate with pink. Pink banners honoring survivors and memorializing loved ones who have lost their battle to breast cancer are hung on the light posts throughout the town. Homes are decorated with pink ribbons and balloons. Over the years, Mary has raised almost $500,000 for breast cancer-related causes. Her organization donates some money for cancer research and also provides direct financial support to families who are affected by cancer. Not only does Mary not take any of the credit, she only boasts about how wonderful her community members are who participate in her fundraisers, but she also fails to mention her personal triumphs. I only learned about the obstacles she overcame because someone else told me. Just 3 years into her fundraising efforts, Mary was in a severe car accident. A traumatic brain injury left her with significant speech and cognitive issues. But even a serious car accident couldn't hold someone like Mary back. She went to speech therapy 8 times a week and was determined to get back to raising money for breast cancer patients and research. At a time when most people would have retired, Mary said, "I'm not going out like that." She knew it would be a long road to recovery, but she didn't believe in quitting. It took her 5 years, but by 2008, she returned to her job as a high school science teacher and resumed her fundraising efforts. Mary didn't set out to change the world. Instead, she focused on what she could do to make a difference. If you start by changing your life, you can begin to make a difference in the lives of other people. Mother Teresa said, "I alone cannot change the world, but I can cast a stone across the waters to create many ripples." Mary Deming didn't set out to change the entire world either, but she sure has changed a lot of lives. Identify the pros and cons of changing. Create a list of what is good about staying the same and what is bad about staying the same. Then, create a list about the potentially good and bad outcomes of making a change. Don't simply make your decision based on the sheer number of pros versus cons. Instead, examine the list. Read it over a few times and think about the potential consequences of changing versus staying the same. If you're still considering change, this exercise can help you move closer to making a decision. There's no need to change for the sake of change. Moving to a new home, starting a new relationship, or switching jobs aren't inherently going to increase your mental strength. Instead, It's important to pay close attention to the reasons why you want to change so you can determine whether the decision is about doing what's ultimately best for you. If you're still ambivalent, create a behavioral experiment. Unless you're dealing with an all-or-nothing change, try something new for 1 week. After you've done it for a week, evaluate your progress and motivation. Decide if you want to continue with the change or not. Develop an awareness of your emotions. Pay attention to the emotions that are influencing your decision as well. When you think about making a change, how do you feel? For example, are you nervous that the change won't last? Do you feel exhausted at the sheer thought of doing something different? Are you worried about your ability to follow through with the change? Are you scared things may get worse? Are you sad that you'll have to give something up? Are you uncomfortable even admitting a problem exists? Once you identify some of your emotions, you can decide whether it makes sense to act contrary to those emotions. Richard, for example, felt a variety of emotions. He was nervous about committing to something new. He was feeling guilty that he may need to give up time with his family to exercise, and he was worried that he wouldn't be successful at managing his health. Despite all that, he was even more fearful about what would happen to him if he didn't make a change. Don't allow your emotions to make the final decision. Sometimes you have to be willing to change, even when you don't feel like it. Balance your emotions with rational thinking. If you're terrified of doing something new, and it really won't make a big difference in your life, you may decide it's not worth putting yourself through the stress of change. But, if you can rationally identify how change will be best for you in the long term, it may make sense to tolerate the discomfort. Thanks for watching. Please like, share and subscribe.